with Troy Online. Answering our chat box questions today, if anybody has any, is going to be our Director of Graduate Admissions, Ms. Haley McKinnon. And today we have the pleasure of hosting our Associate Vice Chancellor of Financial Aid, Ms. Angela Johnson, who will be sharing a brief introduction to financial aid here at Troy University. And Ms. Angela, we thank you for being here today, and you can take it away when you're ready.
Thank you, Nicole. Welcome. Good afternoon. I'm Angela Johnson. I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor of Financial Aid here at Troy University, and we're having this little introduction to financial aid to help answer some questions about financial aid and to encourage you to apply as soon as possible so that we can get you awarded for the upcoming terms and the upcoming year. So let's get started. So just some little myths about financial aid. Sometimes people will say, oh, my parents make too much money and I won't qualify for aid. Anyone, even a billionaire's children, can apply for financial aid. There are always student loans available for students. Only students with good grades get financial aid. While grades are checked, what some might consider good grades are still good grades. You have to have a 2.0 GPA, which is a C average, to continue to receive aid as an undergraduate student. Now, graduate students have to have a B average or a 3.0, and both of those are what it takes to graduate. So those standards are not too bad. And that the form is hard to fill out. While it is a little time-consuming, a little aggravating, it's worth the trouble. It takes you 30 minutes or so to complete the process, so it is worth it. So there's two different types of aid that we were going to talk about, need aid and merit aid. Need aid is what you apply for through the FAFSA, and that's grants, loans, and work study for students that are on campus and are where they can go to work. And then there is merit aid, which is based on merit, your academic and athletic scholarships and some other scholarships that are offered by different organizations. I keep going the wrong way. So gift aid, those are grants and scholarships. Those are things you do not have to pay back. And that's, limited to people that qualify for those things. And then loans, anyone can get. There's different types of loans, and we'll get to that in just a minute. And then there's work study, and like I said, you have to be on campus to be able to qualify for work study. So some helpful hints when applying. You want to do your best to completely, correctly submit the forms, complete the forms. The deadline dates, Troy University encourages you to apply each year by March the 1st. But the deadline dates, it's rolling. We never cut you off until the year's over, so you can always apply. Anytime we send you a request, we want you to respond as quickly as possible. You want to keep all copies of everything that you use to submit your application, because sometimes there's a process called verification that you might have to send in documents. And then every year you must apply in order to get financial aid. Keep going the wrong way. So the free application for federal student aid that you hear everybody talk about, the FAFSA. It's a very funny word to say, FAFSA. But that is the application that you complete in order to tell us what you qualify for. It applies for everything, grants, work, and loans. And then every year, you need to apply every year. So term versus semester. So we'll talk about that. At Troy University, there's 5 terms per year and 3 semesters per year. But the way that we award is 4 terms a year, 2 semesters. We do not award for what we call summer or term 5. The normal turnaround time is terms 1 through 4 or fall and spring. Now, you can request for us to award you through term 5 or through summer, but you must request that. We encourage you to just go ahead and be awarded normally the 4 terms or the 2 semesters, and then to save your money to help you pay for summer. And then once you're awarded and once money moves, is what we say here, you can't change your disbursement pattern. So I can't take you from a semester student to a term student in the middle of the year or vice versa. You can't go from term to semester. So you have to stick with that pattern for that academic year, and that's just because of our computer system and the way things work. So you're stuck in that what we call attendance pattern for that year. So the first thing that it takes to apply for financial aid is what we call an FSA ID. That is something that you must create on your own. You go out and you answer questions, and you create an FSA ID and a password. It's usually an email address and a password, but you do need to make sure that you keep up with that, because that FSA ID will be what you use to log in for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, however long you plan to stay in school. And you always need it. The email address, I would not advise you to use your work email address, because if anything ever came up and you didn't work there anymore and you can't get to that email, so you need to use your own personal email. Don't use a work email. If you're what we call a dependent student, then your parents has to have an FSA ID as well. So the FAFSA on the web, that's the application where you go and you're going to fill it out, and you're going to tell them everything that they want to know about you. And this is what takes time, 30 minutes or so. You can electronically sign it with your FSA ID, and your parent can electronically sign it with your FSA ID if you are a dependent student. But this is the actual form that tells me what you're going to qualify for as a student. So this is the important thing. The FSA ID is the most important thing, because you have to be able to electronically sign it. It can come in without your signature, and if it does, then we have to ask you to go back out there and sign it again. So just make sure that you go all the way through it, and once you submit your signature, then it'll tell you you've completed the form. It'll send you an email, and you know. Then Troy University is going to get that form in the next 3 to 5 days. Hopefully, it'll be a turnaround time very quickly for you. If you're selected for a process called verification, it could take a little more time, but again, we try to email you and let you know what you're missing, let you know what we need. So cost of attendance. This is a number that we use to determine how much aid to offer you, whether that's grants or loans or a combination of those things. The cost of attendance, you take away what is called the expected family contribution. That's the number that comes off of the FAFSA, and that equals financial need. So that tells me how much money you need based on the formula from the FAFSA to be able to go to school. So, cost of attendance is made up of tuition and fees, books and supplies, room and board, transportation, and personal expenses. And those are the things that it takes to live as a college student for a term or semester. So this formula is established by the United States Congress, and it uses the information that's reported on the FAFSA to come up with your expected family contribution. Now, if there is a situation that comes up about your expected family contribution, if something changes during the year, especially right now with the coronavirus and things like that are going on, people have lost jobs, and sometimes the illness can affect income. You just need to let us know, reach out to do what we call a professional judgment, and that all this information is on our website, and so is all the financial aid counselors' email addresses. So there's many forms of grants, and when we say many, I'm showing 3, but that's many. So there's federal Pell Grant. That's the one most everybody knows about. That's the grant that is awarded from the FAFSA. Then there's a Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, and that's a smaller grant. You must qualify for the Pell Grant in order to get the supplemental grant. So the federal Pell Grant is the driving force behind the grants. And then the Alabama State Grant is an even smaller grant that the state of Alabama awards to Troy University for us to give to our students. And none of these things have to be repaid. A grant never has to be repaid. Work study doesn't have to be repaid, but a student loan would have to be repaid. So other sources of aid is athletic and academic scholarships. There's endowed funds and alumni groups that offer scholarships as well. There's private sources such as your employers. your religious or community organizations, clubs, civic clubs. Your high schools might have information about some kind of scholarships. And then the Veterans Administration, and that is for anyone who's got the veteran in their family, their father, or sometimes even a grandfather. There's a small scholarship for veterans. So there are numerous loan programs. There's the direct loans, that's subsidized and unsubsidized. There's parent loans, or what we call plus loans. And then there's private loans, and private loans is handled outside of the FAFSA. You do not have to complete the FAFSA in order to get a private loan. But a private loan usually is a last resort. People usually get the regular federal direct loans before they do the private loans. So just some current interest rates for you listed here. We've got the subsidized, the unsubsidized, the graduate or professional unsubsidized loans, and then the plus loans. And graduate students can get plus loans as well. So the level that each grade level can borrow: a freshman dependent student, $5,500. That's for the year. A sophomore, $6,500 for the year, and a junior and senior can each borrow $7,500 per year. And then independent students, it's $9,500 for freshmen, but $4,000 of that is unsubsidized. And then sophomores, $4,000 is unsubsidized, juniors and seniors. And then a graduate student can borrow $20,500 a year. So if you have to borrow money, there's the direct loans, the private loans that we talked about. Home equity is something that someone could consider to use to do a home equity loan to help pay for school. Or sometimes a pension plan will allow you to borrow in order to pay for your education. So that is another option. That's not something you have to go through the financial aid office to do. So Troy has online scholarships that are offered for the military and family, and then there's a transfer scholarship, and there's information on that at the troy.edu/scholarships page that'll help you about online scholarships. Always beware of fraud. I know that's a terrible thing to talk about today, but there's a lot of different fraudulent things that go on where people say, oh, if you pay us $150, we promise you we'll find you a scholarship. So just be real cautious of anybody soliciting you. You can always email our office and say, hey, I got this email or I got this phone call and they said, you know, this is what they would do for me. So you can let us know and we can let you know if it's something that's legitimate. So warning signs: you've been selected by a group you never heard of. A list of scholarships is guaranteed. Please enclose a $5 processing fee. I just need your credit card number, or you're a finalist in a contest. Those things are definitely red flags, and you want to avoid those. So free scholarship information would come from your high school guidance offices. finaid.org is another scholarship search engine, and the fastweb.com. All of those places would be legitimate places to look. Sometimes you can even just Google scholarships. You want to remember to apply early. Every year, October the 1st is when the new FAFSA comes out. So here we are about to hit October 1st of 2020 in just a couple of months. And that'll be for the 21-22 school year, which is hard to even think about right this minute. But as we approach this 2021 school year, 21-22 is on the mind of the Department of Education. You want to apply every year and make sure you respond to us for any information. The quicker you respond to us, the quicker we can get you an offer out there so that you can help you go to school. So important dates. Go ahead and create your FSA ID. You can do that today. It takes a little bit of time, 15 minutes or so, and you can complete the FAFSA as soon as you do that. The financial aid. Once you are offered and you accept your offer through the financial aid self-service page, we wait until the last day of free drop an ad so that we know for sure how many hours you're taking, that you're taking classes you're supposed to be taking. Then once free drop an ad is over, the next day they start to credit, the business office starts the refund disbursements. So every term and every semester, that's the way we do it. We go through the last day of free drop an ad, and then we let the money move. So now Nicole is going to let me know if there's any questions.
Thanks, Miss Angela. We did have one question so far. And guys, if you have a question, you can use the chat box that Ms. McKinnon is monitoring. He did say that out of the $20,500 for grad students, how much of that is unsubsidized?
Yes, all, unfortunately for graduate students, every bit of that $20,500 is unsubsidized. The government no longer subsidizes a graduate student loan. It's all unsubsidized.
And I know one question that some of my students have, just working on the admission side, is they want to know when they'll hear from financial aid. So could you tell us about when they get, will they have to be accepted first before they get in touch with financial aid?
Yes, once you're accepted, the information will come through us. If you've already completed your FAFSA, you could have done your FAFSA a week ago. And as long as you listed Troy University on there as a school that you want to receive your FAFSA, as soon as your Social Security number is accepted into our system, your FAFSA will come through, usually the next day. So, yeah, you want to be accepted first. And then hopefully, if you're not selected for verification, we'll have you an offer the next day. Right now, we're trying to do that turnaround daily. So hopefully we'll be able to help you with that process.
Okay. One question that we had was, what is the best way to get in contact with financial aid?
The easiest way for the financial aid counselors is going to be by email, and everyone's email address is listed on the troy.edu website under scholarships, costs, and aid for the financial aid office. Email is just the easiest, quickest. The call center takes calls for the financial aid office, and sometimes they can answer quick questions. But email is usually the easiest, quickest response time for my office. As we approach fall, it's really, really busy, so the phones are ringing, the emails are coming in, but they're still trying to turn it around within just a few hours.
Okay. Logan asked, if I use the IRS data transfer on the FAFSA website, will I still need to submit my W-2 and my tax transcript?
Okay, that's a really good question. The IRS data retrieval tool is a wonderful thing, but it does only eliminate the tax return transcript. W-2s are still required because there's still a box on the W-2s that our office is required to verify. So W-2s would still be required, but the tax return transcript would be waived.
Okay, and we did have a question. It looks like this is an admissions question. How do we change the terms you decide to attend Troy? I'd like to go semester by semester. So for this question, I can speak a little bit about that since I am an admissions specialist. Once you put in your application, you will choose either semesters, which is on the Troy campus, or if you choose to go online or to one of our outer campuses, you will be on terms. So you would start at term 1, which is our August term, and it would go all the way to term 5, which ends in July. That's our summer term. That answers your question. Cassie wants to know, I've been accepted and chose Troy for the school and have updated through email to my advisor. What do I need to do? I guess for financial aid purposes.
We're going to have meetings or a question, an email questionnaire, yeah, right. An email questionnaire that you can make an appointment with an advisor this afternoon, and they'll be happy to help you. And like I said, you can email them, as soon as you can access the website. I think they're going to send you a survey form at the end of this presentation for you to answer to, and there should be a way to link to my financial aid advisors or counselors. They're counselors, they're not advisors.
Charlene would like to know, can I use my parents' tax return for funding help?
Okay. Now, that's part of the process on the FAFSA is that you have to use your parents' tax return information. So that would be for the 2018 year too. Let me clarify that for you just a little bit. Used to that it would be just the current year's tax return information, but now the Department of Ed decided to use what they call prior year. So you use your 2018 taxes right now to fill out for the application for the 2021 school year. But yes, your parents' information would be used if you are considered a dependent student. And there's questions on the FAFSA that determine your dependency status. Once you answer those questions, it tells you whose tax return information it needs, parents or just students.
Okay. Does anybody else have like a general question right now? While we're waiting to see if anybody else has a question, I do want to thank you so much, Miss Angela, for being here today and for sharing that very helpful information. I know financial aid can be a scary thing for some people. At this time, if you're looking at the chat box, if you'll scroll up to the top, there's actually a link to a form, and that's actually going to be the form you'll use if you would like to schedule a meeting with one of our financial aid counselors this afternoon. They will be available if you would like to schedule an appointment through that form, and they can help with any specific questions like regarding your specific application maybe, or if you need any individual help. On this form, there's also a link to our post, or it serves as our post-webinar survey. It would be really helpful for us to be able to do these things in the future if you'd go ahead and fill out the survey. Let us know what you would like to see differently or if you have any ideas. And anybody that fills out the survey will also receive a free toy gift. Again, we want to thank you all for being here, and we hope you have a great weekend. And I don't think anybody has any other questions. Let's see.
Well, thank you for having me, Nicole. I hope I helped, and if we can help you, please reach out to us. We'll be glad to do it.
James, when you talk to the advisor, the financial aid advisor probably won't be able to help you if you're talking about your collegiate transcripts. You would want to talk to admissions. You can call this 1-800 number that's listed on the screen, and they can get you in touch with your admissions specialist. Okay, everybody, Ms. McKinnon did just share the JOT form again, so you guys want to utilize that. And we're going to go ahead and hop off, but I do want to say that this will be available, this presentation, so it's being recorded. We're hoping to get it up on our website, so in case you came in late or you missed a few things, the presentation will be up later. So just keep checking the financial aid website, but you can always email them like Ms. Angela said, and they'll be more than happy to help you. So again, we hope everybody has a great weekend.